Good morning, class. This is Heidi Beckles with American Culture 200. This week's unit, the primary source I've chosen from the U.S. Civil Rights Movement website, illustrate Thurgood Marshall's service. This is Mr. Marshall in strengthening the 14th Amendment of our Constitution, which develops ideas about race we've encountered from previous weeks of this unit. The 14th Amendment was ratified, granting all peoples of born naturalized in the U.S., including former slaves, freed after the Civil War, citizenship. This reconstruction forbid any state to deny any person life, liberty, property, or equal protection of the laws within jurisdiction as discussed in previous weeks of this unit. The effects of the Jim Crow laws. The effects of the Jim Crow laws enacted between 1876 and 1965 mandated in all public facilities states of former Confederacy, with starting in 1890 a separate but equal status for African Americans. On May 18th, 1892, the case of Plessy versus Ferguson. Homer Ferguson, a 30-year-old, was jailed for sitting in the white car of the East Louisiana Railroad. He could easily pass for being white, but under Louisiana state law at this time, he was considered black and thus was required to sit in the colored car. And you can find a good amount of what I've just read, bits I've taken out from this paragraph or two. The Plessy decision, let me just scroll a bit down some more. Sorry about that. I just want to get it into... Okay. The Plessy decision in the United States Supreme Court said that separate facilities for blacks and whites were constitutional, but also states that the object of the 14th Amendment is undoubtedly to enforce absolute equality for the two races. But in the nature of things, it would not have been intended to abolish distinctions based upon color or to enforce social. And just about all of what I've read just now about the rights of the two races, African American and Caucasian descent, and the rights of not enforcing social or being able to abolish the distinctions upon color. You can find that within the few paragraphs that are here, a few sentences that are here. The separate but equal doctrine was a fiction. Let's go down some more. The separate but equal doctrine was a fiction, as facilities for blacks were always inferior to those for whites. The doctrine quickly extended to many areas of public life, for example, including restaurants, theaters, restrooms, and public schools, and so on. Thurgood Marshall, let's go back over here. Thurgood Marshall, who won 29 of 32 cases, turned to the courts to prove that separate facilities for blacks and whites were inherently unequal. In his biggest victory, Brown versus the Board of Education, 1954, of Topeka, Kansas, he persuaded he persuaded a unanimous Supreme Court to rule that the separate but equal doctrine was unconstitutional. This victory overturned the Plessy-Ferguson case and set Martin Luther King Jr. to lead the Montgomery bus boycott as moral inequality was on the rise. And on this page, that's where I kind of got this information from. Thurgood Marshall was more about fighting the inequalities in from the laws that were given to us through the Constitution, and he was more opting to do it within the courts versus Martin Luther King leading this movement in the streets, and that's what caused a lot of additional uproar and difficulty in the relationship of overcoming, moral inequality between African American culture and the Caucasian culture. Thurgood Marshall and Mr. MLK saw differently the ways of conquering this service to everyone in the African American community and in the Caucasian community. And I wanted to finish up with the ideas about race in America. I found this amazing website that kind of gives an idea about the power of this illusion. So the ideas about race in America and American society has to do with social realities and an ideology which arose out of context of African slavery, distinct from physical variations in the human species, and institutionalized beginning in the 18th century to a worldview, a set of culturally created attitudes and beliefs about human group differences. And that's in this very first paragraph. The primary source with Marshall and President Johnson, to me, develops the idea of race we've encountered because of Marshall's service to the perils of diasporas and the great chain of being that I also found on the race website, just at the very bottom here. The great chain of being, a semi-scientific theory of a natural hierarchy of all living things, the physical features of different groups as markers or symbols to their status on this scale justified their positions within the social system. Thank you.